Hey there again. The domain I want to talk about now is the mental domain, also known as Read a Book a Week challenge. This particular part required us to read a book a week. In my case, it ended up being a combination of some books that I had purchased and then also some Amazon Prime reading ones that I just borrowed from the Kindle store. Between you, me, and a fence post, I'm not a huge fan of reading digital books, but I love reading enough that I'll do it if it just works out better that way. Nothing like the smell and feel of a real book, though, in my humble opinion. So, real quick, I'll just highlight the books I read over these 60 days. Don't have enough time to really go in depth to all of them, but I did have some incredible reads. Funny enough, I didn't notice a couple of the books I selected from Prime Reading were 100 pages or less, so they actually went by really quick, like before the week was up. Because of that, I had to call a couple audibles and adjust fire to a new book, um, or actually continue reading some books that I had been started before the challenge, but just been kind of piddling my way through. The first book that we started with was the required one, and when I say required, I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. It was a fascinating book. Um, it was actually Jason Van Camp's book, Deliberate Discomfort, kind of the kicker off to the challenge. Each chapter of the book talks about a different value in a battlefield environment, and then kind of discusses how you can make it applicable in your everyday life in a non-combat environment. Great read, very motivational, great way to kick off the challenge, kind of get you in the mindset for the next 60 days. Um, Also, the professional domain, which I'll talk about another day, had some videos that kind of expounded on each of those values with different professionals. Jason leading us in, Nate, one of the other Mission 60 guys, contributing some input as well. My next book was Atomic Habits by James Clear. That was an amazing read. I cannot recommend that one enough. The man did an excellent job of breaking down habits, both good and bad. There's so much common sense in it, but it's just packed into one book. It's a heck of a read. A lot of common sense, but still a good reminder. Next one was Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. The book was mind blowing. No hyperbole at all there. It was mind blowing and life changing. The man has studied sleep for years. He breaks down the value of a good night's sleep, puts to bed, pardon the term, all the silliness involved in just powering through, pounding caffeine, and forsaking sleep to be more productive. If you read no other book, this is the one. Definitely recommend. If you read two books, make it this one and Atomic Habits. Next, I read Do the Hard Things First by Scott Allen. Relatively quick read. I think I was done by Wednesday or Thursday of the week. I did get some value out of it, but overall not one of my favorites during the challenge. I did Master Your Emotions by Thibaut Maurice. Made it through that one relatively quickly as well. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. Another that was just kind of a lot of common sense. I had the two books that were a little shorter than I expected, so I finished them way earlier than planned. Kevin Hart's This Is How We Do It. I love that guy, very motivational guy. The book ended up only being about 60 pages in the Kindle store, so I was done within just a couple hours. And then Bushido, The Soul of Japan, which I read on a flight for work travel. And just like the Kevin Hart one, very quick. Initially published in 1899, it was a fascinating read, had a lot of really interesting trivia about samurai and the Japanese way of life, and wild that it was written in 1899. Years ago, when I was in the Navy, I read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, but it had been, quite a while. So that was one of my last books I read for the challenge. Good book, in my humble opinion, a little pedantic on some things and kind of overthought a few things. Not a bad read though, but just very kind of nitpicking, I guess. Liked it, didn't love it. Don't regret reading it though. The last book that I'm on right now, finishing up, is Gates of Fire, about the 300. Yeah, very motivational, good stuff. So two of the filler books I had that I made some progress in during those weeks that I finished early were Splendid and Vile by Eric Larson. That guy could probably make the phone book fascinating. Great author. If you get a chance to read Eric Larson, anything by him is great. So Splendid and Vile is about England fighting off Germany's attacks before America got involved in World War II. So England was getting hammered by Germany prior to Pearl Harbor, and that gave us buy-in to officially help England, although Roosevelt was helping Churchill kind of on the DL with equipment. Great book, absolutely great book. And then the other was The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert Kennedy, both fascinating in their own right, both very informative. I honestly think half of The Real Anthony Fauci book is footnotes, a lot of references, crazy stuff. Anyway, as a lifelong reader, I really dug this part of the challenge, and I think I'm going to try to keep that momentum going after the 60 days. It may not be one book a week, but I'm going to try to get close to that. Looking forward to finishing Gates of Fire. Anyway, next one I'll talk to you about is Professional. Have a good one.